Hello, my friends. Reverend Sandy here. And first of all, I want to apologize to you because we had some technical difficulties live streaming this past Sunday. It just did not work at all. And secondly, I want to just uh, express great appreciation that you're taking time out to explore this video. This is going to be a recording of the lesson I did on April 28th, 2024. We were continuing with our Earth Month series. We had looked at lessons from trees. We had looked at a spiritual perspective of the environment. And today we're going to look at the way of water. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. And out of that, of course, the oceans hold about 96% of the total water. But water also exists in the air as water vapor, in rivers and lakes, in ice caps and glaciers, in the ground as soil moisture, and in aquifers. And water is also in you. It's also in all of the creatures of the earth. Your body is about 60% water. So today we're going to look at the way of water. It's looking at some of the characteristics of water so that we can incorporate them into our own life for empowered spiritual living. First of all, let me backtrack just a second. Some of this may be a trip down memory lane. These are reminders, and I have found that the spiritual path is really about remembering, having those reminders of what we may already know, but haven't yet fully incorporated into our lives throughout this human experience. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is most likely a reminder because this information came out a number of years ago, and that's the work of Dr. Emoto. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can share the screen. Here we go. Looks like I'm going to have to do it that way, and that is okay. Dr. Emoto uh, discovered that the molecular structure of water is influenced by the words and feelings that are directed towards it, by the energy directed towards it. So you can see in the photo that some of these uplifting words produced beautiful crystals, symmetrical crystals when the water molecules were frozen. And then some of them produced when they were, let me get this out of the way for a second. Oops, there we go. You can see some of the words and the phrases directed to the water that were life denying certainly did not produce the same symmetry. It's much more chaotic. So when we think about it, and we remember that we are made of 60% water, when we listen to negativity, whether it's our own thoughts or it's coming from an outside source, there is an impact not only emotionally, but upon our physical self as well. And when we listen to uplifting words, there is an impact as well. So being mindful of the words that we speak, the thoughts that we think, is really a fundamental spiritual practice. And it may take a while for us to really get it, to really pay attention to those words. So Pierre Proudhon tells us there are no neutral thoughts. Every single thought is charged with a quality of energy. And when charged with love, every thought can contribute to the healing of the planet and the transformation of the world. And this is what we were talking about last week, sending a blessing out to Mother Earth and all of creation. That blessing actually has an impact. and not only on what we are blessing, but of course on ourselves as well. So when we think about the water of the world, oceans, of course, come to mind. And one of my favorite things is to just go to the beach and look out onto the ocean. Now, I may do some people watching, but I really enjoy just looking at the ocean and taking in the vastness. It's such a humbling moment for me. And it's also a moment that feels like eternity as well. The Ocean, which is where I go generally, covers an area of 41 million square miles. I can't even fathom that. And it's 23.5% of the global ocean. And get this, it has a total volume of over 74 million cubic miles. That's crazy. The Buddha tells us, develop a mind that is vast like the water, where experiences both pleasant and unpleasant can appear and disappear without conflict, struggle, or harm. Rest in a mind like vast water. I believe that the Buddha is referring to the quality known as equanimity, being calm, being level headed, knowing that whatever disturbances are on the surface, there is a hidden depth within that we can call upon. So we don't allow the surface disturbances to affect us too deeply. Remember, at those hidden depths, that's where we really know who we are as an expression of light, an expression of love, as an individual expression of the divine. And that's where we reflect the light and love of the divine. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, tells us when a body of water is choppy with fitful currents of air, it cannot reflect objects clearly. Neither can we reflect the steady, strong glow of omnipotence when our mind is disturbed by anxious thoughts, fearful thoughts, or angry thoughts. So we learn to reduce or release, ideally, those um, choppy thoughts so that we can call on the depths within. We learn to let go of the small hurts, of the negative self talk, or at least we don't give it any power, so that we can really call on our Christ consciousness within, so that we can know that we are whole and complete just as we are. Emily Cady tells us one drop of water taken from the ocean is just as perfect ocean water as the whole great body. Each is complete in itself. Each individual manifestation of God contains the whole. So just take that in for a second. Whatever you know God to be, as love, as wisdom, as peace, as life, that is who you are as well, your spiritual essence. You contain all that God is within you. That's something to really take in. Now, we also know that one of the main characteristics of water is that it flows, much like life flows. Experiences, by their very nature, are temporary, they're fleeting, they're momentary. As soon as we say, hello, we're moving on to another experience, I think, especially in this world, it seems like things go by pretty fast. As soon as we have Thanksgiving dinner, we're on to the football game. So, based on this, we have really two options. We can accept how fleeting every experience is, or we can try to hold on to it. When we choose acceptance, then life really is a flow of fresh experiences that we can face with wonder and awe. It's like a stream consistently renewed at the source. We're not haunted by bad memories, Deepak Chopra tells us, or filled with anxiety about what might happen next. But if we pick the second option, we accumulate a storehouse of habits and conditioning, of preferences that, and some that we don't want to repeat. Chopra tells us the second option is the foundation of the ego, which holds on tightly to reinforce I and its sense of security. The loss is very great, however, because experiences won't stop occurring just because you want them to. And by holding on, you shut out the flow of life. So we learn to minimize the ego's influence so that our higher self can come forth. You know, we're pretty fortunate where we are to have an abundance of good quality water. In the global rural population, though, 1.6 billion people face water scarcity, and many of those are reliant on uh, reserves of groundwater. But the trouble is, worldwide, 56% of groundwater is unsuitable for human consumption. And this is particularly true in India, where 60% of the land harbors undrinkable water. So there's a real need for efficient methods to create fresh drinking waters inexpensively and on a large scale too. Traditionally, or in the past, I'll say, technology relied on an like batteries or an infrastructure that supported an energy supply like electricity. And the trouble is, in developing countries, especially in the rural areas, the infrastructure can be unreliable. So scientists from MIT, from King's College London, and from the Helmholtz Institute for Renewable Energy Systems created a solar powered um, system to convert unusable groundwater to usable fresh water, making it affordable to many rural communities and also being expanded to use in agriculture as well. You know, salt water does have a natural filtration system, but one that we can't really use for drinking water in great quantities. Well, actually, yes, we can, but it's in a different way. The salt water will turn into water vapor and form clouds, and then the water that rains down is fresh. That's a natural filtration system. And of course, we know that groundwater in the right conditions can filtrate, can purify itself by going through layers of soil and sand and rock and other natural materials. And this is another characteristic that we can bring into our lives, having the ability to purify our thoughts, to purify our hearts. Purity is really aligning with divine mind and knowing that you are whole and complete and perfect just as you are. You're made in the image and likeness of God. It's getting in touch with our I am, our Buddha nature, our Christ consciousness, that presence that we are. Matthew 5:8 tells us, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And I believe that when we are aligned with our higher self, we see spirit all around us, in the people we're with, in all of creation. When we have pollutants, though, in our thoughts, keeping us playing small, maybe fearful or snarky, we can learn to filter them out through the use of denials. This is a tool for our toolbox. Denial is not denying the thought is there, but denying the power of that thought over us. For instance, perhaps I was facing a financial crisis. So it's not denying that I only have so much in the bank, because that's a fact, but it's denying that that thought is going to keep me from feeling prosperous. You see that? Ernest Holmes tells us that there is an inner life into which we may plunge, an inner consciousness in which we may bathe. As water purifies itself by flowing, so our inner realization of the flow of life through us purifies the stagnant pools of our fears and doubts. There's a story, a folk story about a farmer who set out to dig a well. And he dug down about 15 feet, and still the ground was dry. So he moved to a different location. He started digging. He dug down about 15 feet, and the ground was dry. He did this a couple more times at different locations, and really grew frustrated. Finally, his wife suggested that he simply dig deeper right where he stood. And being a wise man, he followed her advice and soon found an abundant water source. At times, we may feel like that farmer. Our spiritual practice may seem dry and unproductive, but as we continue on, as we persist, as we persevere, we will move deeper into the well of the soul. Travelers crossing a desert covered with dust and filled with weariness seek the refreshment of an oasis, the cool shade, fresh water. And we, if we are feeling weary or confused or just tired, can take a spiritual oasis, an inner communion with spirit within. So we're going to move into a time of meditation to remember the truth of our being, that we are vast and infinite like the ocean. We are whole, like each drop of water is in the ocean. We are pure of heart, having that ability to rid ourselves of thoughts that pollute our well being. Nothing can change any of that, for we are one with Spirit. I invite you to join me in this affirmation. I discover the living waters in the deep well of my soul. As we move into a time of meditation, let's just adjust our position so that we're comfy. You may want to lie down or sit fairly straight, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the back, releasing any tension there, noticing your breath, not changing it, just noticing the inhale and the exhale, closing your eyes so that we're not disturbed by anything going on the outer. And as we calm our thoughts, let us set that intention once more to discover the living waters in the deep well of the soul. So we focus on our heart space. And perhaps we can use as an affirmation to keep our thoughts from roaming around too much. The simple affirmation, I am the living waters in the deep well of my soul. I am the living waters in the deep well of my soul. Let us move into a time of silence. Even if there is sound coming from your neighbor's house or the outside traffic, this is an inner silence that we're going to. I am the living waters in the deep well of my soul. As we bring this time of meditation to a close, I invite you to join me in our prosperity affirmation. Prosperity flows freely through our church, nourishing our ministries while enriching the lives we touch. We are grateful stewards of all that is given, using it wisely to create a legacy of love and service. My friends, I thank you for your kind attention to this time together. I also thank you for being part of this unity community. And we appreciate any support that you'd like to pass on. Your financial support is greatly appreciated. But more than anything, your loving support, your prayers, that's what's really precious. Until we meet again, this is Reverend Sandy. I'm sending a blessing out for a good day.